Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2. We're really excited to welcome you to our bonus episode, The Friday Fix. We are your hosts, Tracy, Annie and Earl, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. And together,
we are In Business. Every Friday we will be discussing a business-related subject with either one of our wonderful In Business networking members or a fellow business owner who will be sharing their advice, thoughts or knowledge on a particular topic. Oh, and make sure you listen to the end of the show to hear our guests tell you all about their favourite networking tip.
This week's episode is called Your Personal Vision and Goals. Our special guest is Sam Sargent of the Alternative Board. Enjoy. Okay, so hello and welcome to today's Friday Fix. We're excited to welcome Sam Sargent today, a partner in the Alternative Board.
Welcome, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, how are you both?
Fine, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, good. We're good.
Good to talk
to have
to
you
you.
with us today. Thank you for coming along.
Would you like to just start by telling us a little bit about what you do, please?
Yes, so I'm a partner in the Alternative Board in Yorkshire, specifically covering the Leeds South and Wakefield area. And in the Alternative Board, what we do is bring business owners and business leaders together in a boardroom setting. And each month, each business leader and business owner will bring a challenge or an opportunity in front of a group of other business owners, and they'll be asked questions and receive advice in a peer board advisory setting.
Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. So, Sam, today you're going to be having a chat with us and telling us about how to look at your personal vision and goals. So what are your thoughts and tips and tricks and everything else to do with it? How can you sort out our personal vision and goals?
So when I first start to talk to somebody about their personal vision and goals, we have a tool that we use called the personal vision wheel, which is broken down into 10 elements. Elements such as fun and recreation, personal growth, friends and family, your job or career, your compensation, etc. And what we would do is we would look at each of those areas and ask you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of how happy or how happy you were with that particular metric of the personal vision wheel. So for instance, if we looked at your health and well-being, and I said to Ian and Tracy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current health? 1 to 10.
So
what would
about
that
an
be
8.
for both
I'd
of
say
you?
at least an 8. Yeah, we're not doing touch wood. We're not doing too bad at the moment.
For two creaky old gates.
For two old people, we're not doing too badly.
So we look at each of the metrics of the personal vision wheel, and we'd get a rating for each area. Then I'd take a particular section, and you rated your health at an 8, and we'd have a conversation about whether you were happy with an 8 or whether you wanted to move that to a 9 or a 10, and if so, what that might look like. So same question back to you. Are you both happy with an 8 or are you looking for a 9 or a 10?
I suppose it's always good to take it higher.
Mm.
I'm quite happy at the moment with an 8, but we obviously would like to be a bit healthier, I suppose.
Yeah,
Also, we could go the other way. Maybe I'd like to go the other way so I could sit down more and eat sweets and stuff. Can you take it the other way? Can you go down?
Yeah, he doesn't have much choice in eating healthily. I try and make you eat healthily, don't I?
Yeah, no. Sorry, we messed up there for you, Sam.
Sounds like a good partnership. So if you did want to move it from an 8 to, let's say, a 9 or a 10, we'd then have a conversation about what would a 9 or a 10 look like for you. So if you're currently, let's say, I know you mentioned on our networking meeting earlier in the week that you'd tried to go for a walk in the morning, but it was too cold. So let's say that one of your areas in the sort of your health vision is to get out walking more, then would a 9 look like maybe going out twice a week or 3 times a week? Would a 10 be 5 times a week? And depending on where you currently are, where do you want to get to? And we'd have conversations around what success in that metric of the personal vision wheel look like for you. And we do that for the 10 different areas. Once we've done all that, it's a coaching session in itself, maybe over 1 or 2 coaching sessions to really get to the bottom of what is your personal vision, what are the areas that you want to work on. We then look together at how you can achieve that and put in place steps, work towards that goal. So let's just take, for example, health was maybe a 3 or a 4. and part of that was to increase your walking, then we'd look at what would be an achievable step for you on that progress to move it to a 6 in the short term, to then move it to a 7. So small changes that incrementally, once they're added up, will move you more towards that overall vision that you've got with regards to health.
Of all the elements that you look at, what
where do people fail the most?
Yeah, or what has
or
the
not
biggest
fail, but
what has the biggest impact? What do people want to focus on first? If you said we've got this wheel here of all these elements,
is it different for everybody? Maybe I suppose.
What is it? What do you find has been the most popular starting point? Where do people want to look at?
A popular challenge or conflict that I often hear and find is the balance between different elements of life. So sometimes you'll hear that phrase work-life balance, but actually just the balance between spending too much time potentially working in a business and neglecting other areas of that personal vision wheel, maybe family or relationships, or spending too much time the other way, so not enough time working on the business. So it's that balance. How do you achieve the right balance? And quite often it's a case that what you find sometimes is that we haven't looked at areas of our life before and really thought about what do we want it to look like. This exercise, looking at personal vision, really makes you think about different elements of your life. So thinking about your relationship with your friends and your family, your relationship with your significant other, the relationship that you've got with work. If you're employed, are you employed in a role that you love, or has it just become the norm that you go to work, you earn the money, you've got into this sort of conveyor belt without actually thinking, what do you want? And that's the most common one in terms of what that balance should look like. But as an exercise, this is great to really hone down on the different elements of what constitutes someone's life. You've got so many hours in a day, so many hours in a week. This is a good exercise to start with, to look at how you're currently spending your time, and are you happy with that, or do you want to make some changes? And if so, where are the changes?
Right.
Where isn't your life
when you sit
in balance?
down with people, do you see from your experience so far that people suddenly have a eureka moment and think, oh, well, actually, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I could do more of that. Or do you see a spark there of recognition that things could be improved? Or
yes and no. I often hear initially when introduced to sort of the balance wheel, and you look at activities that might be considered nice to have, and a common excuse is, I don't have time. Now, we all have time. What we choose to do with that time is up to our personal choice. So as an example, I might say to either of my children, oh, can you just help me prepare dinner? Oh, I don't have time. Yeah, if you ask either of them how many episodes of Netflix they've managed to catch up with that day, they've had time, they've just chosen to do something else with it. So it's not necessarily, I suppose, a eureka moment, yes, because it's a case of looking at what somebody really wants to achieve and work on. And the eureka moment comes when they realise that something that they wanted to do and maybe started off with good intentions, because they've not put that plan in place of how to get there, goes by the wayside. So if you think of all the people, maybe New Year's resolutions, I'm going to eat healthily, I'm going to exercise more, I'm going to do this, starts off really well every new year, but because it's not systemized and changes haven't really happened, then what you find is that those old habits
definitely
sense,
we found that if you don't make a plan and plot what you're going to do and when, then it doesn't happen, does it?
No, say for our exercise, we are getting out just about every day now, walking, aren't we?
We do get out every day,
yeah.
We did go this morning.
Yes, we did.
At 7, was it 7? Quarter past 7?
7 o'clock.
And yesterday we went early as well, 7:30 yesterday.
And it was really
morning.
cold on both days away to ours as
Freezing,
well.
yes. But we did it.
Yeah.
So, and I keep forgetting now as I'm looking out the window thinking, oh, it's a nice day out there, we should be getting out. And I'm thinking, oh no, I've already done it. So I'm ahead of the game.
I like one of my favourite things to do, and it only happens at certain times of the year because of the times of the sunrise, is to start off a walk just before the sun's about to rise. And close to me is a hill where I can see the sun rising over the city. But sometimes of the year it's just too early to get up to do that, to sort of enjoy it. And then it gets too late because it's the work day starts and as it gets to winter.
Yeah. Okay. Following on from what you were saying about these sort of 10 elements, have you got Any tips that you could sort of give to people who were thinking about changing their life or thinking about a personal vision? Or is there something sort of quick fixes that you could, I don't mean a quick fix, but something that would be easy for them to sort of focus on initially? What would be your advice on that?
Yeah. As I was prepping to speak to you today, I had to think about, of the personal vision wheel, which ones are the elements that if somebody did want to make a change, somebody could start to make changes with straight away. And one of them is your general well-being. So that could be financial well-being or mental well-being, physical well-being, or your general health. And those areas are areas that you can start to make a small change on a daily basis. If that's something that you want to be more active or you want to be more conscious of a healthy diet, they are changes that you can make each day. And a small change, if you're consistent with that change, a bit like you're walking, once you start that and it becomes a habit and you're consistent with that, you'll then see the benefits of walking and enjoy the benefits, and it will just become part of something that you do, like getting up and brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
It will just be part of your routine. The other area that you can make a change with straight away, if you look at relationships, so if you look at the kind of relationships you have, you'll have work connections, you'll have family connections, friends connections, and significant other. And you can have a look at each of those elements of your relationships and think, am I happy with am I happy with that particular element of relationship? And if not, how do I want to change it? And what would a change today look like? If I could do one thing to change that relationship today, what would I do? And build from there.
The answer to that is yes, you're very happy with your relationship,
Yes, I
with
am.
your significant
yes,
other.
Yes. I don't want to change anything, so I'm not to change a thing.
Just in case you were wondering.
No, I wasn't wondering, my love. I wasn't wondering.
And that in itself is a great one to potentially do. I'm not a therapist, to do as a couple, because what one person's perception of a relationship might be different to somebody else's perception of a relationship. And in work relationships between various employees, that's a really important exercise that you can do. Or relationships with friends or family. If you've ever been in a situation where you've had a friend who's expected more from you from a relationship than you realised, there's a little bit of out of balance.
Right. Yeah, I was only joking, by the way. Honestly.
Were you? Oh.
Yes.
How do you move then? Is there a process from moving from a personal vision to setting your goals? How does you have this vision, whatever it might be, but then do you think, right, I need to set some goals around achieving this personal vision? How do you go about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so again, I think this is very unique to the person setting the goals, and whether that person needs a short-term goal or, let's say, a half-year goal, or whether if they set themselves a goal for a 12 months, so a 12-month goal, whether there are enough key stages to keep them on track that they need to hit with regards to maybe a milestone here or there. So I'll share my experience of what works for me. Every year I have a vision board and I work through my personal vision and identify areas that I'd like to change and make improvements on. They then go onto my vision board as a pictorial image that I can then have front of mind on my screensaver on my laptop. And that's a daily reminder, a weekly reminder of, am I moving towards that vision or not? Rather than just doing an exercise that I do once a year and then pop away and don't really revisit. It's a reminder. So I also then have a longer term personal vision that links into my company vision that I don't review, that I revisit less frequently. So I'll revisit that every 6 months and see if anything needs tweaking on my 12-month plan to make sure that I'm still on track for that longer term personal
and is
vision.
an actual visual representation really good? If you can nail it down to a vision, a picture or something, is that really good for to help you keep you focused on what you want to do? Is that a good way of doing it?
Absolutely, for me it works, and the reason it works for me is that I do spend time in front of my computer every day at some point. And when my screensaver's on, my vision board is there. So as an example, about 3 or 4 years ago, one of my vision boards for that year had a picture of my grandma on. And I'd made a conscious effort when I was planning my vision for that year. My grandma was getting more elderly, and I popped in and saw her as much as I could do. But I knew that as she was getting older, it would be nice to have a bit more of a relationship with her. So I put her on my vision board, and before I left work, I'd seen my grandma, and I'd make a conscious decision to call her or not, depending on when was the last time I spoke to her. And consequently, in that year that she was on my vision board before she passed away, we had a lot of conversations driven by the fact that she was on my vision board looking at me before I logged off for the day.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, to put it as your screensaver. Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, so I think it depends on the person and what works for you. Some people like to have a visual representation. For others, it might be a list that's on a flip chart or on a sort of laminated piece of paper. Yeah, it all depends on what works.
So do you work on a one-to-one basis with people then, or is it just, when you say it's the alternative board, you have like a group of people and you work with a group, or does that then relate and sort of trim that down to individuals within the group?
Yes, so when somebody joins the alternative board, there are 3 elements to their board membership. So the first, like you said, is the board meeting, where once a month they come together with other business owners. That's a 4-hour board meeting where they bring their challenge or their opportunity. Outside of that, with each member, I have a 2-hour coaching session. And as part of that coaching session, we prepare an issue for them to take to the next board. We also check up on the commitments they've made to the board from their last board meeting to look at what they said they'd do in their business, how they're getting on, a little bit more accountability from me as a coach, as well as the accountability that they get from the board. It's also a chance to talk about anything that's raised its head in their business that month that they'd like support and coaching on. And depending on the maturity of their business at the time they become a member of the alternative board, there's a suite of business tools that we can work through, such as the personal vision wheel, the company vision wheel, the strategic planning toolkit, a KPI, financial performance. It really depends on the individual business at that point as to where they are with those kind of tools. They might not need it, they might need it. And it's through those one-to-one coaching sessions that becomes evident as to, okay, if we need to work on X, Y, Z, what order do we do that in?
Okay. And if people want to get in touch with you with regards to the alternative board, where can they find your details?
The easiest place to find me is on LinkedIn. We also have a website for the alternative board with the other partners in the Leeds, South and Wakefield area. That I can share the details with you.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll put the details in the show notes.
You'll put all the details in the show notes.
We'll get those from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And before we go, have you got a networking tip that you'd like to share with our listeners, please?
Yes, I've got a tip that's helped me since I stepped up with more networking last year. And my top tip to share with the listeners is, when you do meet somebody through networking, when you send that initial connection request, always tailor it to where you've met them or who introduced you, or what prompted that connection request. Because at some point in the future, when you have a one-to-one with that individual and neither of you quite remember where you met or why you connected, it's really useful to look back to that initial first message and make that connection as to why you prompted that connection.
Good tip,
yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. Because you do forget. You do get, if you're involved in networking and you're buzzing about all over.
You meet so many people that you
just
forget. How did I meet you? Yeah. So no, great tip, Sam. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Thank you for all the tips and everything there. Yeah, some really useful information for people there as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. And like we said, if people do want to get in touch with Sam at any point, then we'll put all the details in the show notes. And I'm sure she wouldn't mind connecting with you or having a chat at some point.
So thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Sam.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We are almost at the end of this week's show, but before we go, we are excited to tell you about our In Business Talk 2 episode this coming Tuesday.
Our special guests on next week's podcast are Lisa and Adrian Wales of LPD Associates. We're really looking forward to speaking to them and digging deeper into their experiences as a business couple.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks 2 Friday Fix. We hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, all we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. We'd really appreciate it.
Until next time, this is Tracy and Ian, and together
we are In Business.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.